The Gibson Les Paul is one of the most iconic electric guitars that you can find. If you asked to a bunch of men and women on the street to design the shape of an electric guitar, probably half of them would draw the shape of the Stratocaster, and the other half would draw the shape of the Les Paul. This guitar was Gibson's response to the success of the Fender Telecaster, and during the years it has become one of the most revered electric guitars. There are many books that tell the story of the solid body electric guitar and the rivalry between Gibson and Fender, and I will make a video about these books, but today I'd like to focus on this guitar model, its history, and introduce you the one that I own. Hi all, this is Luca speaking on Music Fingerprints, and this is an episode of the Gear series, where I talk to you about music gear that I like, that I own, and share my comments as an amateur guitar player to both entertain and help anyone who would like to know more about it. And as usual, if you find the video interesting, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, tell me what you think in the comments, and switch on the notification bell. In this episode, I'd like to tell you a quick story of the Les Paul guitar, my story with it, and then go a little more in depth on this specific one. Here on screen you can find the time references for the different chapters of the video, as well as direct access below in the description of the video. In the late 40s, there were several smart minds that loved music, that loved guitar, and wanted to solve the issue that many guitarists were facing. With the increasing volume being available through new amplifiers, hollow body guitars suffered of feedback. Basically, their body resonated with the sound waves from the amplification that got into the chamber of the guitar, resulting in a big mess. Les Paul was a guitar wizard. He was massively popular, but he was also an inventor who self-built instruments and studio tools, and notably a tool to perform multi-tracking and overdubbing. He had been working to solve the feedback issue for a while, and he created a prototype called the log, that was basically a piece of solid wood with a pickup, a neck, strings attached to it to resemble a guitar. Basically, it was the archetype of a solid body guitar. A guitar without the chamber that is solid, with no holes. He found it promising and proposed it to Gibson around 1946, but Gibson ignored and ridiculed Les Paul for his idea. In a few years, though, they had to change their minds. After Fender introduced in 1950 the Broadcaster, shortly after renamed Telecaster, that was the first solid body guitar to be mass-produced, Gibson had to quickly come with an idea to contrast the great success that the Fender model was having. Ted McCarthy, the president of Gibson, had a team to start working on a new solid body guitar design, and then reached out to Les Paul for what it was then to become the first ever signature model guitar. When conceiving the new guitar, Gibson wanted to build an instrument that reflected the heritage of Gibson instruments. In contrast to the Telecaster, a no-frills guitar built with simplicity and pragmatism in mind, this new guitar was created to emphasize beauty and craftsmanship. It had a set neck instead of a bolt-on. Rather than having a flat piece of wood as body, it had a carved body that resembled a fiddle-like tuners instead of the 6 in a row, and binding around the body and the neck, the overall construction was completely different. The Gibson Les Paul was first introduced in 1952, and the shape has remained the same for over 70 years, and though it was discontinued from 1961 to 1968, it is the staple of the Gibson brand. I started playing bass when I was in high school. I grew up with the music of the 80s and early 90s. At the time there were many great guitarists and solo artists. To name a few, Joe Satriani, Steve Vai, Eddie Van Halen, but also Slash. At the time my idea of guitar was strictly associated to hard rock and metal. And while playing bass I also wanted to pick up the guitar, so my first one was a copy of the classical Ibanez RG. And several years later I purchased the used Joe Satriani signature. For a number of reasons I then stopped playing for several years, and in the meanwhile I started the path of expanding my musical knowledge and interests. I started to read books, autobiographies, to listen to the blues and search online to find who had inspired the musicians that I loved. I then started to notice that many of the guitarists that I loved played a Gibson Les Paul. You have Slash, Joe Perry, Jimmy Page, the 1965 Eric Clapton with John Mayall. It was 2015 and I was starting to play again. I wanted to play guitar, and now I wanted a Les Paul. Since I was working a lot, I knew I didn't have much time to play. I knew that I was basically still a beginner, like I am now, so my budget was tight. A store that I knew had an Epiphone Les Paul Slash signature, and I went there to try it. When I was there, I tried it. I was not 100% convinced by that guitar, but I absolutely wanted a Les Paul. So the guy at the store brought me a new Gibson Les Paul Studio, the brown worn one. I liked it better, but again, I wasn't completely satisfied. He then told me that on the same day, a guy had traded in a 2009 Les Paul Studio. It costed a little more, but he thought that I could like it, and this is that guitar. The idea behind the studio model is to provide the guitarist with an instrument that embeds all the acoustic characteristics and the sounds of the more expensive standard model, with less visual embellishments and at a lower price. So the studio has no binding, it has simple colors, no bars, no coil splits. So in the years some of these features have been introduced as well in the studio lineup. The idea is to provide a USA-made guitar that sounds as good as a standard at a lower price point. My guitar is a 2009 model in Alpine White. A good thing about this one, in 2009 they were still coming with an hardshell case. I prefer it to the gig bag, it's a personal preference, but that was a cool thing. And as every Les Paul, it has a mahogany body with a carved maple top, a mahogany neck with a 50s rounded profile. The scale is the usual for Gibson, 24.75, so shorter than the 25.5 inch for the Fender models. A 12-inch radius, so a flat fretboard with 22 frets. The fretboard on this model is in ebony. I'm not 100% sure. I think that 2009 was the last year ebony was used on the studio model, on the Alpine White finish. I think that ebony then remained only on the Les Paul custom model. I like ebony a lot as a wood for the fretboard. Being a Les Paul, of course, comes with a tune-o-matic bridge with a stop bar. It has Cluson tuners, and this one comes with silver hardware, but there was also a gold hardware version. You have 2 volumes and 2 tones for the 2 pickups, and in this case we have black speed knobs, and of course the 3-way switch to move between the different positions. The pickups are 2 humbuckers. In this case we have a 490R in the neck and a 498T in the bridge, and it's a rather hot set, and the bridge pickup is a little more overwound. I personally love the looks of this guitar. The Alpine White has turned to a very light yellow in the years. I think it's still looking great in my opinion. And Les Paul are known to be heavy guitars. This one is heavy, but it's not so heavy. In these years they were chambered, so there is a weight relief system, basically holes inside to reduce weight. I also have an Epiphone Les Paul that has no weight relief, that you can tell it's heavier. Okay, this one is pretty comfortable. The neck is not ultra fast. It's not a satin neck, but it plays well, and the action can be set really low, so it's very easy to play. And when playing it, let's say, it inspires me to play a little heavier music if you want, maybe because of the pickups that are hot, but also the double humbucker configuration. And one thing about the Les Paul design that is a very good thing is that you have separate controls for volume and tone, and this allows you to pass from one sound to the other at the flick of this switch. One of my dream guitars has always been a Les Paul Custom in black. And one other dream guitar is a Les Paul 58 or 59 reissue. But to tell you the truth, even if this is a studio model, you've got no magic missing. It is simpler, but I think that a Les Paul Studio, especially if you like the color, in a good color, is always a very good choice. And both on the new and also on the used market, like this one. And this guitar is almost 15 years old now, but I would buy it again today since I love how it sounds and above all how it feels the moment I strap it on. I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you found it interesting, and if so, remember to give it a like, consider subscribing to the channel to support it and find more content like this. This is Luca on Music Fingerprints, and thank you, hoping to see you again soon for the next video.